I just want to show you something here. My most viewed and watched video last year in terms of watch time hours was my reaction to MRB's reaction to Cindy Watts' interview, because some people will be saying, oh, she's only, my detractors mainly, well, you know, they'll be saying that I'm only doing this for views, when in actual fact, I never built my channel on BAM. And my most viewed videos, both in my longer videos and my short videos, BAM doesn't even come in my top 5 of watch time hours and views. So, you know, I'm doing this because I want to discuss this topic. Like I said, last year, my most viewed video, my most, 135 hours watched of my most viewed video wasn't about BAM. It wasn't focused on BAM. Not even my shorts video was. It was about Donald Trump. So this has nothing to do with views. This is, I'm not here for popularity. This is, I discuss the topics that I want to discuss. So I just wanted to give a preempt to this video by saying that.
He will get compensation, and that compensation could be anything from 1,000 working its way up, but he can get compensation.
Although I've talked about my friendship with BAM, so-called friendship, I don't think she was ever really friends with anyone. I mean, I talk about our friendship in loose terms, like a tag, more than reality. I don't think she wanted friendship. I think she wanted followers. I think she wanted people to look up to her, to admire her, to believe everything that she said. And I think she wanted people to feed her inflated ego. I don't think she actually wanted friends. And based upon the things that I heard about her after the fact, and knowing the things that she did and what she was doing behind people's back, I realise now friendship wasn't really what she wanted. She wanted followers, people that she could influence and people that she could manipulate. BAM was very, very fond of AD, although she denied that she was. She ended up being very fond of him and talked about him like he was this great mastermind. I mean, when I say that, it's kind of conflicting, because her and AD had a past, where they would go back and forth with each other, where they would argue with each other. But she actually ended up, because she had such disdain for the Rusex, she actually ended up liking AD and wanting him to win in any kind of court situation. Now, I rarely talk about AD, and I rarely talk about the court situation with Frankie and AD, or AD and the Rusex, and I basically don't really talk about Claire Morgan that much anymore. It comes up every now and then. But like I said, I don't think that there's a case. And the reason why I don't think there's a case is because it's just taken too long for something which is really just a small civil claim. This is not a major case in terms of, it's a civil claim in the first place. So it's not going to be anything major. And I think it's taken too long. And I don't think the money has been raised enough. Not enough money has been raised for it. And even if it eventually is raised, the figure that's the sum that's needed or required, I just don't see this case coming to fruition in full bloom the way it should, or the way it was intended to. Because I just think it's dragged on for too long. Wasn't it supposed to be heard in court last October? We're in almost February now, and still nothing has happened. And when you go and look at the actual crowd justice, people are not donating as much as they, perhaps should be if there's going to be a court case. So, it's not like I blame anyone for not donating. People can donate whatever they like. They don't have to donate. It's not my crowd justice. So people can donate, and they don't have to donate. But, and I know that a lot of Rusex supporters won't like what I'm saying here in terms of the crowd justice, but I just don't see a case between AD and Frankie coming to fruition in the way that it was intended to, or the way that it was presented to us. I thought there was going to be if there was going to be a court case, I presumed that it would have been a court case where Frankie and AD would be facing each other in a court over a week or 2 or 3 week period. That hasn't happened. But remember, I was on my soapbox about this Claire Morgan thing, this crowd justice thing, for a very long time, and I said I didn't believe in it. I still don't believe in it now. Having said that, I don't. The way Bam admired AD and the way she talked about him as if he was the sympathetic figure in all of this, I don't agree with her on that. She tried to convince me that AD was going to get compensation, that he was going to be awarded compensation, one, for loss of earnings, and she actually tried to sell me that AD was the sympathetic figure in all of this, and that he was going to be awarded compensation. She tried to convince me of that, and when she saw that I wasn't buying it, I think she got really cross with me, because Bam was the type of person is that if she believed something, she wanted you to believe it as well.
It is totally separate to what he earns on YouTube. When I've been talking about loss of earnings, if he has paid tax on any of that, then they'll take that as his income. So what they'll do is they'll look at the lowest from the amount of time, they'll look at the lowest amount that he ever took in on a month, and then he'll be re-awarded that. Well, he could be if he goes for it.
I don't know if you can sense it in that clip, but she's actually quite annoyed with me because I've told her that AD will never be awarded compensation. And this was even before he got taken down. And he's certainly not going to be awarded compensation now that he was taken down. But this was even before. She was trying to convince me, and I think she was even trying to convince herself, that AD was the sympathetic figure when it came to the Rusex and that he was going to be awarded compensation. And I told her on numerous occasions, including one time when I was on her channel, that this would never happen. And she didn't like anyone challenging her because she really, really wanted that to be the case. She wanted that scenario to play out. And she told me many times, I've got proof of it, that she really would love it if AD got compensation, that she dreamt of him getting compensation. And in this clip, she's really trying to convince me of that. And she's very frustrated because she knows I'm not buying it. But, I do think that she had a secret admiration for AD. And I think it was spurned on because of her absolute disdain for the Rusex. I do believe that she had a secret love, admiration, fondness for AD, even though they'd had a sketchy past, where they'd go back and forth with each other. I do think at some point she developed a secret admiration for him, and she thought he was quite a catch. I've told you what I think about the CJ Fund and the case and everything like that. It's dragged on for too long. But there is even in the unlikely event that something happens with this case and AD is awarded compensation, who's paying him that compensation? No one. YouTube don't owe him anything. So, she was really trying to convince me that AD was going to get this compensation that she dreamed about, and it was complete fantasy talk. And I think it tied into her decline, personally, her mental state. I really do. I think that she just started talking a load of nonsense. She was also always very articulate. Bam was articulate. She was charismatic. There's no question about it. And she was very personable as well. But she just started talking more and more nonsense, and I definitely think she was a fantasist. She had this great fantasy that AD was a sympathetic figure and AD was going to get compensation for loss of earnings on YouTube and other means of compensation she thought he had a right to as well, which is absolute nonsense. AD's undoing is his own making, and no one else's. No one owes AD anything. So even though I don't believe that this case is going anywhere, the case between Frankie and AD, I don't see it going anywhere. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't see it. I don't see it going anywhere in the way that it was built up to be going somewhere. So even though I don't see that anything happening with this case much, I think that the real winners here, if anyone's going to win anything, it will be the lawyers, and no one else. But, you know, her nonsense about how AD was entitled compensation and how AD was going to get compensation and how they were going to work it out, that, you know, they would work out that he was, you know, from the lowest income that he took on a month and he'd be re-awarded that. That's just absolute fantasy speaking. But I really do think that she developed a real admiration for AD, and she thought he was quite a catch as well.